killed 7 people and left 48 more injured.
One of the deadliest Septembers in Chicago history, contributing to the 21% increase in murders this year.
Our children have a right to expect to be safe wherever they are in the city of Chicago.
3 people were killed, 49 people hurt in weekend shootings.
Chicago cops are scared to confront potential criminals.
Criminals are more afraid of the consequences from their fellow gang members.
The problem is aggravated by the city's many gangs that are splintering into smaller and smaller
Just
groups.
last night, 3 people were shot on the west side.
They don't have no role models, so they turn to the streets. Ain't no leaders out here, ain't nobody accountable for their actions.
Shootings are now being fueled by trash talk and social media stats.
Instead, what they see are gangs as a path to self-identity and success.
4 people ended up getting shot in that drive-by.
This is an American problem, and America must address it.
We have lost the war before the battle has begun.
On the night of November 5th, I read an article in a Reuters feed about the execution of a 9-year-old child in an alley in Chicago.
What happened to Tyshon Lee took us to a new low. This wasn't a drive-by. This was not a spray of bullets. A baby was executed. A baby was assassinated right behind us in this alley.
This was not a case of a stray bullet or a tragic accident. This was a cold, calculated murder orchestrated by alleged gang members.
And I want to be clear that at this point, we believe that Tyshon was targeted, lured to this spot, and murdered.
The headline in the news was startling on many levels.
Authorities still haven't made any arrests. They believe the 4th grader was intentionally targeted.
His killing may have been retribution for a gang-affiliated relative.
Gang rivalries and retaliation are said to be at the center of the investigation.
Because his father has ties to a gang in conflict with another gang.
You can read reports on Twitter and almost every media outlet about the murder rate in Chicago.
Since the first of the year, nearly 2,400 people have been shot, more than 350 killed.
How do you keep handling when the national landmarks in your neighborhood are not new businesses or Frank Lloyd Wright buildings, but teddy bears and yellow police tape and balloons?
There's a growing hopelessness that I've never seen before.
In trying to understand how something like this happens, you have to look at 3 distinct angles and narratives. First, the reaction of the streets of Chicago. The narrative and rumor is that this was retaliation for a gang war between the Gangster Disciples and Black P-Stones, 2 of the oldest gang factions inside Chicago.
You don't have any names that you can give to the police that might help them? Nobody that you know from another gang or from your own gang?
Do you think there will be retaliation for your...
No, I had already let the news know that it will be no retaliation done, not whatsoever.
The second narrative starts with Gary McCarthy, the police chief.
Tyshon Lee was murdered in probably the most abhorrent, cowardly, unfathomable crime that I've witnessed in 35 years of policing.
McCarthy has come under siege as of late, with many calling for his resignation amidst the escalating murder rate and recent shooting.
Chicago Police Superintendent Gary McCarthy got an earful from aldermen today, many of whom are calling for him to be fired.
We get blamed from the constituents, we're going to shift it, because it's going to be your blame as well.
Your policies are failing my ward, and they are failing our children as we bury them regularly.
What is the police department doing, and what is their plan?
There's not a magic solution for this. There is not something that we could pull out of our hat and say, this is what's going to change it. It's a systematic failure, and the system has to change.
The third narrative is the political machine in the office of Mayor Rahm Emanuel.
I stand by the superintendent. I stand by the men and women in the police department.
After a violent weekend in Chicago, city officials make an effort to get guns off the streets. Today, Mayor Rahm Emanuel pledged financial help to local gun buyback programs.
We're going to try everything we can to bring a level of security and safety throughout the city of Chicago.
These 3 angles play out in public and in the media, and the problem is nothing gets done to change the current situation.
Tyshon was not in the wrong place. The murderer, the executioner, the assassin, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tyshon was doing what every child has a right to do, be a child.
Is there any policy that could change this? Do gun laws have anything to do with the problem?
There's been this great move to make guns part
of the wardrobe of America. And that's not the America I was born in, not the America I want.
Community group in Chicago filing a lawsuit against 3 Chicago suburbs, asking them to better regulate the gun shops in their towns.
All we're asking is to put in good practices that are done in other gun shops in America.
The Cook County lawsuit alleges civil rights violations, saying more than 3,000 guns seized in Chicago are traceable back to 3 stores in Lyons, Riverdale, and Lincolnwood. It asks for better local regulation to ensure the guns sold aren't so easily put into the wrong hands.
Chicago is at a crisis point, to say the least. And over the course of 12 episodes, Go to Ground News will investigate not only the shooting, but some of the root causes that gets us to a point where 9-year-old Tyshon Lee is shot close to 9 times in a South Side alley. Sadness, frustration, anger, and disbelief all come to my head in reading this story. And part of this journey is simply asking a question of how or why did this transpire? We need to get to answers. When a 9-year-old child is murdered deliberately, no matter where it is or who his family is, the discussion of race or class has to go out the window. Go to Ground News travels to inner cities across the United States to examine issues that are affecting citizens at the grassroots level. City Wars covers the nexus of politics, the war on drugs, and law enforcement from every angle, including the streets that the mainstream media